Hello everyone, I hope you're well. I hope you've had a good week. Mine's not been too bad. You can definitely tell it's starting to get a bit colder. And also in light with for today's or this live, you've also noticed the lack of daylight. So that's what I thought I'd go through, is basically dealing with the short daylight hours that we've got in the winter, and it's going to get worse obviously, and basically how to speed up your day to try and fit all your days working. Because at the end of the day, we need to get the money in, don't we? So I hope you haven't been finding it all too bad. I've certainly had a couple of close calls, more than once so far. Yeah. Anyway, what I sort of like find sometimes good during the winter months, and I definitely don't mind when it happens, is when you get a couple of customers skip. And some people like to skip a few cleans anyway during the winter, which I totally understand with Christmas round the corner. And also the windows tend to keep cleaner for longer anyway. And because I have a lot of work, it helps me out when we get the shorter daylights that we get in winter. So if I get a couple of skips, I'm not too miffed really. And I'm still hitting the targets that I need money-wise anyway to get me through the day. So that's kind of cool when it happens like that. When you end up with more than you can chew, though, the pressure's definitely on to get working. So, yeah, just to go on then, one of the good things to actually get off is starting on time. So starting as early as you can with the, I suppose, the daylight. Now, obviously, a lot of people aren't going to like you rocking up too early. So I normally try and do my first clean about 8 o'clock in the morning. Because, you know, some houses you're going to go to, people are heading off to work, or they've got the school run, so they're trying to get all the kids ready and stuff like that. The last thing they want is me parking in the way of their cars. So, yeah, it depends on your customers. But I normally start the furthest away house I've got on my round and work my way to back home, basically. And I'll try and get to that one. So I'm out of the van, ready to start the first clean at 8 o'clock in the morning. Obviously, you start later than that, it's just eating into your time. And I suppose, as they say, if you lose an hour, you spend all day chasing it, don't you? So starting on time's a good help, and getting away. Get up that little bit earlier if you have to. Get the heaters on in the van, that sort of thing. It's coming, in it. Yeah, and so like I say, I start at the furthest, work my way back in towards home. I tend to run out water, so around halfway through the day anyway, I tend to nip home to fill up or get as much of my far away work as I can done. And if I need to, or I will do, I nip home to fill up with water. And again, I suppose in the winter months, to save time, you could then start from the nearest house to where I live and work my way back out to where I sort of like stopped, rather than driving out halfway to then come on myself, because then to me I'm losing time. So little tricks like that, I suppose. Oh, sorry, just get rid of this. Hi Ted, you all right, mate? Thanks for popping in. Sorry, I just got to make this a bit bigger. We all say that, don't we? You haven't missed anything, Ched. I've just started, mate. So no problems there. But yeah, going back, so start furthest away, work myself in. When I have to fill up with water, and then I'll start from the closest and work my way back out, just to try and save the old time when you're pushed for time, which it's going to get worse because the days are getting shorter. But thankfully, it's not too long to put up with, just about a month or so, isn't it? And then, or just over. I think it's at 23rd of December, something like that. It starts getting lighter again. So when you're taking breaks, try and keep your breaks short as well, which goes without saying, really. We often need breaks. I do. So if you get a toilet stop and all that lot, basically if you're running a supermarket, get to the toilet, do your business, get out, instead of having a look around, seeing what's on offer, because it's all time against you, isn't it? So I just got to show you this comment. Hi, Jack. Don't know if you can see that. Sorry to keep changing these. Nothing like doing a full day window cleaning, then coming home watching a stream about window cleaning. I know. Watch plenty of YouTube videos and all the other little channels and so on, so I know how you're feeling. As long as you get your day's work in, innit? That's the main thing. Thanks for joining us, Jack. So yeah, going back to keeping your breaks short, because I work with myself, and obviously I've got my daughter and my son, Matthew and Sophie. They're out with me, so that's 3 of us. So I often tell them, look, if we're going to take a break, use the toilet, pop in the supermarket or whatever, I just tell them, get it as quick as you can, get a pop or whatever, and get out in the van because we need to get on the road. Obviously, in the longer summer months, you can chill out a bit more, haven't you? You've got the time, really, and you're going to slow down because of how hot it can get. But in the winter, it's the daylights against you. And also when we stop for lunch, especially if we come home, it's very easy to end up taking an hour for lunch, isn't it? Because people slow down, they get the phones out, they're looking at it, they lose track of the time. Then you've got a queue for the toilet. Whereas I like to get in, get home, get the van bombed up with water ready to go again. Kettle can be boiling while that's going on. Then you can make your brew, scoff your sandwiches, drink, and get out. But obviously you can't just power through work all the time. You're just going to knacker yourself out, aren't you? But if you take breaks, keep them to a minimum, which probably goes without saying. And the one the kids probably will moan at me more than anything else is chatting to your customers, because I kind of get seeked out by some of my customers, and I do like chatting as well. I think it's all part of the job. And some of your customers, they don't actually get to speak to many people, do they? And you're one of the few. So look forward to seeing you and catching up. They do take an interest in your life just as much as you take an interest in theirs. In the winter months, when you've got the talkers, talk politely, but obviously you've got to be wary of the time. And I often get a lot of glares from the kids and nudges saying, look, we need to get shifting, because they're basically stood still while I'm talking, so they don't like it. Another thing I found is wearing gloves. If you're going to wear gloves, what I've found is sometimes I keep my left hand all the time, keep the glove on, take the glove of my right hand off because I need that to touch the phone because I use the squeegee app. And I do like my hands to get a bit of breath of fresh air. I don't want them in gloves all day long. So I'll take a glove off, because I find when I stop at the next house, I've just got to jump out and fight to get one glove on as opposed to 2, because I've already got one on my left hand. And I tell the kids to do that because they're slow at putting their gloves on. So we've all got these gloves which are nice, tight fitting on your hands so you can do your work and everything. But taking them off can be a bit of a nightmare. Putting them on just takes that a little bit longer. So just little stupid things like that, really, I find a help. Hi, Jack. Me and my dad work together, and I'm always trying to hurry him up with the customers. Yeah, that's both my kids doing it to me. But I do find talking with the customers, having a chat, is all part of the job. Gives you a bit of a break. But then I'm too polite, and I do chat for a bit, to be honest. I think even the customers run away when they see me. But yeah, it drives the kids mad. But that's how I get my kids back anyway. Another thing is getting your routine down for like setting up or packing away the equipment, because you do it time after time. You'll start doing ways where, well, when I first started window cleaning, I was very, all right, Chad, no worries, mate. I was very wary of time and things I could do to speed up. I knew cleaning would come with confidence, but unpacking my kit and packing it away quickly, these are all the things I was thought of, because you try to find 2 hands doing it at once sometimes, don't you, to speed stuff up. So if you practice a drill, as like we do in the military for different things, they just happen like that. And because it's second nature, it can happen quite fast. Because there's 3 of us, for example, I'm getting out of the van, putting my glove on, my kids are getting out, putting their gloves on while we're walking around. They'll work as a team to get the 45-litre trolley out the back for my daughter. Then my son will go to the back of the van to get his stuff. I've already got my stuff and get going. Me and Matthew basically has got to get ahead of Sophie, because we're doing the top windows. Sophie, she does the bottom windows with the trolley, so we try and get ahead of her there. And same with packing up. It's a bit of a routine. So there's always one of us there to help Sophie get her stuff in, collecting payment, all that kind of stuff. One person can be doing that while the other two, for example, are packing away. So all these things save that valuable time for you. Another thing, which I'm sure you're all doing, is keeping your work compact. So if your work's nice and compact, clumped in one area, you've got less time traveling, so you can get through your work. If it's a bit spread out, unfortunately, sometimes you can't do much about that. But always keep an eye on it. Try and keep it compact, because the more time you're traveling, especially in the short daylight, that's less time you've got working, really, isn't it? It's took me a while basically to organise my round properly for that reason as well. But it has been a godsend. Will you do a day in a life video for winter shorter days? I might do, actually, because I've got myself one of these action cameras now. Rather than use my big camera, because when you're busy working, it's hard just to concentrate on trying to get stuff dialed in right. So I figured if it's like a fire and forget, just press a button, I'll give it a go. But I've got to play around with the camera first, get the settings right. And then, yeah, Jack, I will plan on doing like vlogs or something like that, more videos of us working, or little tips and tricks and that. But yeah, I'll probably make this one, especially when it starts to get really darker. But that's if I've got time. I've got so much work, it's hard to fiddle around with the cameras. So like I said, I'm open with this. It's just press the record button. It's got the settings dialed in, and then I can get that sorted for you all. I'd definitely like to do it anyway. So I got something on the trackpad. How do you deal with LWS? Sorry, Type Mark, I'm having a bit of a brain fart here. You caught me off guard. I don't know what LWS means. Just stick it in the comments, mate, and I'll get back to you on that. But yeah, sorry, keeping your work nice and compact, that's going to help you out big time. It is hard when it's spread about. When I'm working in a town like where I live, Wisbeach, there's a big roundabout in the middle, and that just clogs up the whole town, really, because everything feeds into this roundabout. So we always try and do certain areas before lunchtime, so we're the other side of the roundabout towards home, so I'm not having to transit across there, because when you're caught in the traffic, it's just terrible. Cheers. Low winter. Well, I don't know what you mean by low winter. Is there a high winter? Ah, with you, mate. Yeah, sorry. Low winter sun. That is a bugger, isn't it? Especially when there's three of us, we get in the front of the vehicle, especially if there's been some light rain or something like that, with three of us in there and all that heat coming off on the window screen, and it just instantly gets that layer of stuff on there. So when the sun's low, it's hard for me when I'm driving to see out of the window screen. So we always have the heaters on to try and clear the window screen, but that's also where we put the gloves to try and dry them out a bit as well. And yeah, I do find the low sun is a pain, because it's with you all day, really, isn't it? And it's the ones where it's a wet road and the sun is bouncing off the road and up. So even though you've got your sun visor down, it's still killing you in the eyes. And you do think about wearing your sunglasses, even though it might look a bit funny in winter, driving around wearing a pair of sunglasses. But yeah, I suppose I just squint my eyes, really, Type Marker. But it can be a pain. It's trying to keep the windows nice and clear for me. Okay, what's the furthest away that you work from home? Some of you are probably going to laugh. There are some places, when I first started, I was taking work all over the place, and I would be travelling 30, 40 minutes. But I've got rid of my far away work, and I'm now trying to get it more clumped in. But where I am is rural, so it's probably 10 minutes to drive to some of the villages I get to. But I'll try and do work close in that area as well. So most of the time it's nice and compact, and I'll probably say the most I'm driving is about 20 minutes to 30 at a very good push to get to me furthest away. But the work's all clumped in that area, if that makes sense as well. But the majority of it is a lot closer than that. But there's 1 day a month, Jack, and everyone else, where I do work, and it's an hour to travel from where I live. And then obviously I've got an hour travelling back. And that's in Coningsby in Lincolnshire. The reason is because I used to be based there. And before I got out, I got my window cleaning van. And because I got a business loan, I was having to earn money to offset the costs already of my business loan before I even got out of the RAF which I was in. So I had a couple of customers that I used to pop out lunchtimes, clean them lunchtimes. And then basically by the time my time was up to leave, I had enough work where I could clump them into 1 day. So I said to my wife, I'm not going to say cheerio and do a runner on them. As long as I got a day's worth of work, it'll be worth me driving out there. And I've done that for 5 years now. And obviously I've been able to take more work on because I work with my son and daughter with me as well. So it does seem weird driving out for an hour, but because in effect they got me started, I didn't want to turn me back on them. I thought as long as I've got a day's work, I'll go out there. And that's what we do, just 1 day a month. I like it because it just reminds me of being based out that way. I've got a few people I like to keep in touch with. So cleaning out there, I get to pop and see people, which is good. And my kids like it as well because obviously they were based with me on some of the camps. So when they see all the L aircraft flying, they kind of like that as well. So it's like a day trip in a way. Yeah, also shows up every blemish on customers' windows. Yes, with the low sun. Yeah, definitely when I first started, you would hate the sun because, like you're saying, marks stand out more, I think, than the summertime because of the level, angle of the sun's at. Definitely. But then again, in the summer, you get a lot of marks as well, don't you, with the pollen and all that kind of stuff as well. I normally find winters a lot like now, once you get past the spider mating season, September, October time, into the beginning of November, from that point on, I suppose all the way to January, I find the windows are a lot easier to clean because they stay cleaner for longer because we're having all the wet weather. So giving them all an extra rinse. And that also helps you get your work in the short daylight hours as well. But yeah, it's easy to get complacent and try and keep going quick. You've still got to look out for these marks, especially like you're saying with the low sunlight, they're going to stand out. We had a call back actually a couple of days ago. There's stuff on some patio windows and it was mainly when the sun was out. We should have seen it as well, to be honest. But I think sometimes when the sunlight as well is at a low angle and it's glaring off the windows, it can make it harder to see some of these marks compared to normal as well. So you're trying to be fast, but you've got to keep a lookout. It'll all come together. You just pick up the knack for it in a way. Cheers, Ched. Yeah, I just thought customer loyalty or just loyalty goes two ways, doesn't it? So your customers give you the work, so you do a good job for them. Yeah, as long as I've got them, like I say, it's been 5 years. Some of them can't believe I travel that far. But they stick with you, don't they? And it gives the van a good run out. Instead of doing all these short journeys and you stop-start, it's having a good clear out as well, I think. So I don't mind it. Okay, Jack's just saying, I find that areas are so packed with window cleaners these days, you have to branch out, yeah. We go around 30, 40 minutes. I reckon it'd be pretty hard to get every job within 5 to 10 minutes. There is a lot of more people I've noticed starting where I live as well. And your customers come and tell you, don't they? Because they get leaflets through and all that lot. But I'm like, I don't mind. If there's enough windows out there for other window cleaners, so I don't mind. And you've got your customers. They know you. They trust you. You keep them happy. So I don't think they're going to leave you, are they? But yeah, when you first start, like I said, you're taking work and it's really spread out. God, I reckon I used to spend over 2 hours a day driving just between jobs. But now it's a lot less than that. I wouldn't suppose it's still over an hour though, really. It does work out nice when you can go somewhere and you might have a clump of 4 or 5 where you can even have the van in one place. It's nice to have them because that's where you can make up time, isn't it? But as customers move out their houses, you find the different areas where it gets like it changes. That's what I like about the Coningsby day. Actually, we've got one bit where we can just keep the van parked in this close, and we literally do 5 houses. So that's almost over half your work done with just your van in one area. So it's handy when it's like that. But yeah, you do sometimes find you've got to clean a house, don't you? And it's at least 5 to 10 minutes until you get to the next house. But it's a beauty when you've got a couple lined up really close to each other. But it's the nature of the game, isn't it? You're never going to have it too perfect. I suppose the old days when you had ladders and that, and you're just walking, that's how it would be. And other window cleaners would be having their areas where it's all kept and the neighbours keep seeing you. And it'd be nice, wouldn't it, if you just walked down one street on one side and walked up the street on the other, and that was your day's work done. That would be good. The other thing then to save time is work for your lunch if need be. I always take a pack up out with me anyway, but because we always come back home to fill up with water, we normally around lunchtime just say we're going to head home. Unless we've got a couple more hours, it makes sense that area is completely locked down, so to speak. Then when we nip home to fill up, we'll have a cup of tea and eat the sandwiches. But like I say, when the people start looking on their telephones and sat there, they lose track of time and need a bit of a nudge to get a move on, sort of thing. Because otherwise, the next thing you know, you've had an hour lunch break and then you've got to drive back out as well and waste more time. Whereas sometimes if you just pull over in a lay-by, isn't it, you eat your sandwiches and after about 5 minutes, you're like, well, let's crack on then. And then maybe get a cup of tea when you go home to fill up. So, yeah, I'm wary about me lunch breaks the kids end up taking anyway. I'm happy just to fill up, literally be 30 minutes, be in, turn round and out and add me brew. But it don't out when it's cold days, does it? It's nice to be in that warm kitchen with a cup of tea. What lunch? I just cut sandwiches up small and grab them when I get back in the van. Drive to the next job. Yeah, I only eat sandwiches and I think it's a packet of crisps, that's it. I got a bit peckish around 10 o'clock today, so I had me crisps and then I had me sarnies like around 12ish and a cup of tea, and I was good to go. But my kids take a bit longer. They eat more, they're younger, aren't they? I'll put on too much weight. When I first started, I didn't even eat lunch. I'd come back home and pack lunch. I wouldn't even touch it because I spent more time driving around than I did actually working. So I was having to jump from house to house and do these long drives just to tick off the day's work when I was first starting. Pretty much had to force myself to eat in the end, but because your mind's racing and you just want to get your work done, get home for tea time so all the kids and your missus can all eat. Yeah. Good old days. Another thing that I find helps speed me up is using the Squeegee app. Because I use the Squeegee app, I'm not having to write stuff down. When I first started, I had some A5 like leaflets knocked up. They're thicker than paper, so they're quite solid. Excuse me. And on the back, I'd have all the different payment details, ways of payment that I accept, and on the front, I had little boxes, so I'd just tick what service I've done. So that way I'd also remind them what I can do. And then I'd write in the price and the date and put that through the door so they know I'd been. But when I started using Squeegee app, obviously you just click job done. It automatically sends an invoice. So I'm not having to do things like that. So literally as I'm getting in the van, I just click job done. It automatically does the invoice, sends the invoice. And I'm already on the next customer, pressing the button, and it straight comes up with the old navigation on Apple Maps to get me to the next house. So I find that definitely speeds up my workflow as well. Obviously, another thing is probably what we all do. I definitely do on a Sunday, spend a lot of time cleaning my van and getting it all reorganised and resorted out, because things do get left a bit out of shape. Not too bad. Just to get it all tip-top ready to go again Monday morning. And everything's got a home in my van. So if I need to get something, I know where it is. And half the time you're talking to someone or someone's walked up asking for a card, and I just know where to put my hand, get the stuff out anyway. And that also speeds up your workflow. So when you know you need to get your scraper for some tough bits on the glass, for example, you know where to find it, go out, use it, and off you go. So that definitely helps speeding things up. Got all different tricks and tips, haven't you, for different situations to try and get through your work quickly, because these things are always going to be up against you to knock you back. And then lastly, the other thing I was going to mention is about keeping on top of your work, because when you miss someone, you're going to catch them up tomorrow. But then you're making tomorrow harder, because it's hard enough as it is with the lack of light, and then you're having to do an extra clean or two, for example, to try and catch up on these customers. If you've got to do it, you've got to do it. I've already had to do that this week, just with one person, but to put a bit of pressure on today. But that's the way it is. But we got it done, because if you don't deal with it, it's just going to build up, isn't it? So yeah, try and keep on top of your work. And if anyone does drop off, is try and catch them up as quick as possible. That's a beauty with your work being close with your home, because as you're coming home, say to fill up with water, once you're filled up, you can catch up on a nearby one as you're going back out to another area. That's what we did today. Yeah, Ched, Sunday van cleaning and a bit of a tidy. This week need to strip and clean the poles, so wet and muddy. Yeah, every Sunday, me and my son, we'll strip our poles down, clean them through. I let them drip dry while I'm washing the van. Then I obviously use a PTFE spray, respray them up, check all the clamps, get everything how I want it again, tidy it all up, stick it in the van. We do that every week. But yeah, because it's wet, it's winter, you're picking up a lot of grit. So you normally find on day 2 of the week, say by Tuesday, sometimes you're working, aren't you, cleaning the window, and you can just hear the grit grinding, and it does your head in. So if it's really bad, I'll quickly flush it out rather than wait until Sunday. Summertime, it's obviously not too bad, but what you normally get in the summertime, people got building work going on or something like that. But yeah, this time of year, there's puddles everywhere. Your hose is going to run through it, and then it's just picking up all that grit off the floor, isn't it? So yeah, I find pole maintenance is definitely something you have to keep on top of. Robbie sounds so busy, maybe you should jack your prices a few quid and lose a few customers, but gain financially. Yes, we've recently, I suppose about 3-4 months ago, we'd put our prices up, try and do it every 2 years by £1, but might have to do it every year, I suppose. But I don't want to get too crazy on prices, because I do find some of the quotes I get, the first comment you get is, oh, you're a little bit more than the other one. But then they give you a go and they're happy. You never hear anything about it after that, because you start hearing the previous window cleaner, for example, might have been there really, really quick. Whereas you're a bit thorough, so they don't mind paying that bit more, I suppose. And they know you're going to turn up. But yeah, it's trying to get your prices right, isn't it? I suppose all you got to do is feather with it. You do get a couple of houses you wish you didn't clean, I suppose. Or if you just put them up a bit more on what they are, I suppose as long as you can explain it nicely across to the customer why you're doing it, they'll be happy with it, especially because you do a good job anyway. But yeah, always keep an eye, I suppose. I think winter time might actually be a good time to analyse your rounds and thinking about what prices you should put them up, because you've got that limited daylight. And then basically in the summer, you'll be sound, wouldn't you? I'm not saying put your prices up in winter, but you could think about what you need to put them up in for later on in the year. I always try and put my prices up around April, just so it's in line with the tax year. That's sort of what I go for. But it did make a big difference just putting them up. I think in 5 years, I've only put my price of my windows up twice. And I would say the first ones I did, they were heavily underpriced. But we couldn't jump them up too much. But we're going to get them there. You just learn, don't you? Not too crazy, but as you're so full, put them up each year. by a percentage rounded up to the nearest pound. Yeah. You really have to think about it, don't you? It's getting the confidence as well. I hated putting my prices up. I was really cringing, but I think we only lost 4 customers, but they were people who are probably thinking of going anyway. But everyone else, I think, was surprised that I hadn't actually put my prices up for a long time. You know, when you get the comments when they say everyone's prices have gone up, you're the only one who hasn't. It's time to start thinking about it, innit? But yeah, I suppose winter time with that limited daylight is time to look at, with those pressures on you and restrictions, what you should be earning in a day and the best way to do it. You always got your finger on the pulse anyway, haven't you? And you're always analysing and thinking. I suppose we always undersell ourselves, definitely. I definitely did when I started. Now I'm a lot more with it. I know my gutter prices, I think they're right, because we do get a few people think about it before they then use us. But a lot of people just say yes. But that's because they already know you. Yeah, my daughter at some point may be moving away to Scotland. So we'll be someone down, and my wife's on about jumping in. But already me and my son are saying if it's down to me and him, we may have to lose some work, unfortunately, because it's just too much for 2 people to do when it comes to winter. But you don't really want to get rid of work, do you? But there comes a point, there's only so many hours in a day, so much you can get done, but you need X amount of money, don't you, to live? And it's not just living, you've got to have money to the side, because there's always something's going to go wrong with a piece of kit or your van. And it is hard when you ain't got that money there to get it fixed. Without the van, you ain't working, are you? My wife always says she put them up. It's just hard, isn't it, to think about putting your prices up when the price of living is so high, because you don't want to tip over that balance where you start losing too many customers and then you're putting yourself in a bit of a bind. But at the same time, you can't be that cheap where people won't cut back and get rid of you, so to speak. But because you're so cheap, there's only so much you can do in a day. You're actually not hitting your targets. So it is a bit of a balance. I suppose you just got to feather around with it, haven't you? Get the confidence. I'm surprised so far, because I saw about last week with the stream and the internet went, and basically I got cut off. So I just carried on and then put the video out later. It hasn't done that yet, so happy days. Right, that's about it for me. So I'll sign off soon. Thanks for all the chat, everyone. Thanks, Ched, for watching again. You're always coming in here. Cheers. And yeah, I just thought it got me thinking today with the lack of light, things I keep trying to tell the kids what we've got to do to try and speed up so we can get the work done. And it definitely makes you think after winter. I think winter's a good time of thinking about, like, not just your prices, as what Ched's saying, is about thinking your round and getting it compact as you can. I know your work is often spread out, but you try and do little things to make it smoother, ready for next year. And then definitely just think during the winter, don't let summer, let it slip. Because obviously we think in the summer, you've got that longer daylight. So sometimes you'll slow down, especially when it's really hot. You know, you need a drink of water and that. Don't get complacent. So I suppose summer's a good time to analyse your round, trying to think of ways you can make it work more efficiently, getting your work nice and compact. And I suppose you should look forward to that in summer. If you could always finish around 4 o'clock, that'd be nice, rather than working up to 5 or gone 6, which I sometimes do. But the problem I find in the summer is when a lot of your customers are out in the garden, they like to sit there and have a good chin wag with you as well. And I like a chin wag, so I'll probably lose more time, to be honest, talking to my customers. least with the cold weather, they're like, chat for a bit and say it's cold and run indoors. Cheers, Ched. I'm always learning as well. Every day's a school day. Right. That's it for now. Have a good weekend, everyone, and enjoy cleaning your vans like I'm going to this Sunday. Take care.